I'm ChosenArchitect, and this is All the Mods 10. Now today I'm going to be dabbling a little bit into the arcane and the unknown magic realm that is Forbidden and Arcanus. Now to be able to successfully get into this mod, I do want to, well, extend a little area off to the side of my base. This whole area right here is going to be where we not only house the Forbidden and Arcanus, but this is actually where we're going to set up the actual infrastructure and portals that we'll potentially use to do other magic things in the future. So beautiful. The hallway is now complete, and this eventually will hopefully have some portals in it. But for right now, I want to get Forbidden and Arcanus set up right here in the center. Now, this does require a multi-block structure, and then is also going to require a couple of other things as well down the road. And there's been a lot of changes since the last time I've played this. It seems like every new version, there's like new things that are constantly being added to this mod, and it has over the years been kind of interesting to watch develop. Now, of course, getting started, we have to make ourselves a Hephaestus forge. That's like our ultimate goal. And to do this is going to require, like I said, a multi-block. Looks a little bit like this. But there's also some other things that I've not played around with before. Klebano? I think Klebano is what I think I'm looking at here. And there's also some other prerequisites that we need to keep in mind. For example, to make this Mundabeater dust, I think I'm saying that correctly, we're going to need some phantom membranes. So it would be probably a good idea to actually go after and get that started before we really start to dive into this. Now, believe it or not, if you do Bumble Zone and you actually search up structures here in the Bumble Zone, you will find a place that is called a Phantasm Aviary. And this is actually a great place to kind of farm phantoms, which can be kind of a pain considering there is like a time commitment that you have to kind of wait for them. Now, there are structures in the overworld that also contain these as well, but since we've already gone here, I might as well show off this cool structure. There's so many structures, man. It's kind of ridiculous, but I should be able to just go in here and find a phantom. And yeah, they're just floating about. This is also a place where you should be able to easily take them out. Let's put the phantom in the data model. And I've got to get to, well, taking out phantoms here. Then after grabbing that, I just need to grab my distribution module right here, distributor module, and I just got it right-clicked on here to add it to the list. And that's what makes this system so nice, is I just have to add a new chamber to it, and everything is just going to work. Of course, it is going to take that prediction that it does get, and I do have to set the phantom drops, but that's only after it produces one. So now that phantoms are automated, that is going to give us kind of space, because we need to make two different things that we're going to be using a lot of, and that is that Mundabeater dust, which has an extensive crafting recipe requiring arcane crystals, bone meal, like we're going to need phantom membranes, probably want to also get myself like, I don't know, like a skeleton up and running in some way, probably with essence would be really good. Blaze, gunpowder, like stuff like this, some basic mob farm stuff, but phantoms are kind of that hard thing to make. This, by the way, gets used to make that Diorum ingot. Now, as far as arcane goes, this is actually something you find in ore form, but I did actually set up a bee when I did the whole bee episode, and we somehow have like 69,000 of them now stored away. Bees are incredibly fast. And mystical agriculture is really starting to show itself. Right here, charcoal is actually needed in order to make this. Not regular coal, but charcoal. And we can make charcoal super easy with just some of our wood essence and coal. So that makes that super straightforward. Automating all of this, like for the most part, we have all of it coming in from mob farms. The arcane crystal, on the other hand, this we do have to smelt down. Looks like regular smelting works. So I can just build a regular smelting recipe, and we can toss that inside of our auto smelter, which is hanging out over here somewhere. Perfect. Just toss that in. Now, as far as darkstone goes, you can either go mining for it, or if you have the darkstone essence, which I do recommend making, this is going to make your life a whole lot easier, allowing you to just basically craft it on demand. And so now for the fun part, to be able to make our first like multi-block, either this one or actually making our forge, we're going to have to combine a bunch of parts. So we are going to need polished darkstone, gilded. We're also going to need chiseled, arcane, polished, Darkstone. It's the naming conventions start to get really long at this point, but we can see these are just like slab forms, but all of this basically requiring that diorum, which is why I wanted to get that up and auto-crafted. So now with a bunch of those auto-crafts ready to go, building the Hephaestus Forge, it looks like it's a little bit easier now, thankfully, because of like having this display in here. And I don't know if this is just exclusively from the mod or if it was added from all the mods, but if it is done exclusively through the mod, this is actually really nice and kind of helps out because there was no like guide outside of like scrubbing the web through a wiki that was super outdated last time I played with this. So it's going to be pretty nice if this this stays, or eventually we get some sort of a nice guidebook. But for right now, this right here is what we're going to be working on. So it looks like each of the identifiers are associated to each one of those squares. And this is a 9x9 kind of like circle you're going to be building, or I'm going to be building, mostly comprised of polished darkstone. So I can go ahead and request, you know, a few polished darkstone. We're not going to need 100, but I have a ton of this. And right here is where I want this to start. So this is a 9x9, right? So that means if I go ahead and just build out the entire platform out of the polished darkstone, it'll kind of give us a nice like starting point. So this right here is our first initial square. And I do know that kind of works out like this, where we have a 3x3 in all directions. And then we just need to add in the sides, which is this block here, here, and here, and just fill in the corners like that. And if I look at this again, it looks like I'm almost right, I think, because the only thing I'm missing is the actual corners to complete everything, right? So yeah, this is just kind of like putting squares in the corner. And there we go. So this is our actual forge area. So now I just want to take this and place it down in the ground one more. Now for the middle right here, we're going to exchange out these middle blocks just like so. And we're going to place a gilded, chiseled, polished darkstone in the center. It's so hard for me not to laugh because the names just get so long. And then we're also going to use chiseled arcane polished darkstone on the outer sides like this. Now we're almost done, right? So we just need to add some other blocks, which are going to be in the offset corners like that. And this is just going to be filled with more of those gilded, chiseled, polished darkstone. My goodness, what a mouthful. Then last but not least, we put a smithing table directly on top. And this is where we need to tap it with some of that Munda beater or Munda butter, whatever you want to call it. Shift right click, and that changes it into a Hephaestus Forge. That looks really cool. Now for this forge, I'm also going to need to surround it with pedestals. Now these are going to change as we continue on. There will be some things that take its place and so on and so forth. But for right now, yes, make sure you have 8 of them because these are going to be where we actually insert our crafting ingredients when we start to craft on this forge. And if nothing's changed, we also have to worry about Ariel, if I can say that correctly, our soul level, our blood level, and also our experience here, all of which have different ways of being obtained. Now, it's at this point you may be wondering, Chosen, why would I even want to get into this mod in the first place? And to you, I will say unbreakable items, like absolutely unbreakable items. And there's actually more that we're going to be able to do with this in the future that has been added through all the mods. So we're going to want to make sure we have access to at least some of these things for right now, and the potential of actually starting some automations for this. Because just looking at the creative tab here, you can see there is a lot going on here that actually involves these structures. Now, getting ourselves Ariel is actually a rather trivial task because it should just build up on its own, and we can use blocks of this to actually generate a ton of it. So I'm going to make myself a couple of these. We're also going to need some basic polished darkstone and also some Munda beater. This, by the way, is how we are going to create the actual blocks that'll generate it. So I know I just placed these, but I'm going to go ahead and break them for right now. And what I want to do is place down 4 of them. And I'm going to place this block here and then 2 high of the crystal blocks. And whenever I shift right click, they get converted into arcane crystal obelisks. And what this is going to do is going to slowly but surely start building up our Ariel right into here. Now these of course will need to be moved at some point. Of course, we are going to need more pedestals down the road, but for right now, this is going to passively generate this while we're working on other things. Now, one simple way to get blood inside of your forge is by simply killing some mobs near it, or you can actually go out and use some of the blood vials. Blood vials can take a bit of time in order to do, but something like this is not too difficult. Now, something that could work really well with this is by, for example, using chorus fruit to give this no AI and then setting the spawn range to like 1. And I would assume this would just spawn it directly underneath it. It may not actually spawn at all. No, it spawns directly underneath, just like that. And so as needed, we can just turn this on and off to simply spawn in 1. And whenever we take them out, just like that, notice the blood is actually increasing. Now for the experience, we can actually use bottles of experience, but I do want to try out this mechanic right here, which is going to require that Klebano. I hope I'm saying that right. I want to use this. This is something new to me, and it looks like we can use this to make ourselves some obsidian steel and then use that to make a black hole. Now, following this sort of pattern right here, I actually want to build this on top of this whole setup. Which is going to kind of interfere with our chandelier. We might have to raise that up a little bit, but it will be kind of neat to do this. So I want to place this like so. The core goes in the middle, and then on the top, we repeat the same pattern that we had on the bottom, like this. There we go. And I'm assuming we shift right click the Moondebeater dust onto it. There we go. And this creates us a new kind of forge to play around with. Now to make the obsidian steel, we need obsidian, iron, and it looks like the artisan relic, which this is found via looting. I don't think there's actually a crafting recipe for it, and I do have a few of them. I have 6 of them actually. I don't know if they get consumed, but I do have them. So let's do raw iron. I have plenty of raw iron, and we also need obsidian. So bam. So now we have all of that. This goes in this slot, and then these 2 in here, and we need to give it some sort of fuel. So coal, I guess, works. It didn't actually show the coal, but if it's a furnace, coal should 100% do the trick. So there we go. And perfect. Yeah, it's actually not too slow. That seems pretty reasonable. And whoa, that has a really cool looking face. Okay, that's actually sick. So while that's cooking, we actually need to worry about a few other things. For example, the Edelwood logs, right? Or the Edelwood logs. We have to worry about how we obtain these. Now, typically, you would go into a dark oak forest and you would have hunted them down. But it does appear like that may be a little bit different now. And one way that we can definitely guarantee that these kind of logs is by using a sapling. Now, a sapling you can obtain by using a corrupt soul on this, but you would have to actually obtain one of these corrupt souls. Now, a way that we can obtain a soul is through the soul looting enchantment, which actually we do have, believe it or not, on our diamond sword. But yeah, you can get this from regular looting. You can see right here, we do have soul looting on it. So now at this point, you're like, well, how do I actually collect those souls? I have the means to get them. How do I collect them? Well, that is the soul extractor. So with Forbidden, there is a item that allows you to collect those souls. But I will say this item actually requires the Edelwood planks. Now, there are other ways you can actually get them, get the planks. That's why it's already checkmarked here. And that is through the quest book. You actually get 2 of these logs through the quest book, which I do recommend using to make your first soul extractor. You can place this in just like so, and that will get you what you need. Now, alternatively, like I said, you used to be able to go into the dark forest to be able to find these sprawled, but I think it's probably going to be easier just to go about making this and just guaranteeing it. Now, another way you can get it is actually through the Wandering Trader, and I did have it come up on me through a Wandering Trader, but I decided to pass on it because I thought this was going to be a much cooler way of doing it. But yes, you can spawn in the Wandering Traders until you get the right one. And by spawn in, I mean mob swab and spawn them into a spawner. Now that I have a soul extractor, let's go extract some souls. I just got to find the mobs to kill. Okay, so after killing like 4 or 5 mobs, I ended up getting a corrupted lost soul. Now I just need to collect it. Okay, I thought you were able to use a soul extractor on it, but it doesn't seem like that worked. Now, I also am testing it out here, and it did say that you can kill them, but they go right underground. Okay, so yes, if you can manage to capture them, you might be able to kill them. But they do... Oh, there it goes. Oh, nice. Look at that. I ended up getting one. Okay, perfect. So it is very unlikely, and it's going to be kind of a pain to get them, but yeah, it does look like it works. Now, I do want to try and pick it up with, like, this. Oh, we can. Okay. I almost wonder if we can use a mob duplicator to actually duplicate this mob. Or maybe even, like, swab it? Oh, we can swab it. First things first is definitely checking the DNA on it. And yes, there is no spawn egg. Okay, so that means we don't actually get a spawn egg, unfortunately, on that swab, but we still have it inside of the mob imprisonment. But unfortunately, I don't have the full infrastructure set up, and I don't have it running just yet to be able to spawn things from a mob duplicator. For that, you would actually need some of the essence from Industrial Foregoing, meaning we'd have to get a mob grinder up and running exclusively for essence, which I still may do, but for right now, let's place a sapling down, use the corrupty on it, and notice it gives us an eelwood. Look at that sapling. Now with this eelwood, I'm not actually sure if we do get more from it, but this is actually what we get right here. And yes, I don't see anything special. So yeah, it might be beneficial for us if we are going to need a bit more of this to probably set up some sort of spawner in the future. Now, the main reason we are going to need those Edelwood logs is to make the dark matter, but thankfully we only need one for right now. So let's grab that one log and we just need to smelt it. Okay, so here we go. I do have my furnace in my R's and perfect. So we now have dark matter, but I'm kind of worried about spawning in a black hole in my base. This definitely has me a little bit worried. I have no idea what to expect from this thing. We are going to need corrupty, which is something a little bit different from the corrupted souls, but we have just about everything to be able to make it, right? Yeah, just a couple of patterns need to be made. Now, apparently putting these two things together causes a black hole to spawn. So, without further ado, we should just toss them both in the ground together. Okay, and a black hole has formed. Now, something I kind of want to know, can I break this? Or does it exist here forever? Have I made a big mistake? Okay. It's supposed to consume items, but we really need to feed it experience. So, I have a way, of course, of feeding experience to things. I'm just going to use an XP tap. And this should get the job done, no problem whatsoever, right? It just says we need to feed it experience. It just ate my sleeping bag. That's not good. Okay. I think also my XP tank ended up not coming with me. We should have it somewhere. Oh, that's right. If you middle mouse click to select a block and you have it over a block, it'll actually exchange that block and put it back into your system. Okay, anyways, with that, let's go ahead and place our XP tap and just turn it on. And this is supposedly collecting that and should start giving us resources for this eventually. Now, I'm so confused. If this does consume this XP, right, wouldn't I want to make like, let's make sure it doesn't eat my XP or drain. Like, wouldn't it also consume the item that it's actually generating? Like, I'm so confused with this. Now, just to make sure that I'm feeding this correctly. Oh, there it goes. You just feed it from the top. I was feeding it from the side and it wasn't doing anything. But there it goes. Now it's really dumping them out. Okay, perfect. I mean, there should be a way to speed this up. Yeah, that's kind of a lot. That's kind of a lot. Okay. Okay, so this does look like it can be broken. We just have to use like a break spell on it. There we go. Because the normal means takes a long time to break it, but you can get rid of it. Thank goodness. But now with our experified orbs, we can go ahead and put them in here. That brings up our experience level. So we have everything but one section basically done. And that is, how do we automate getting souls? Well, this is going to be through the manual task that is using a soul extractor on soul sand. Yes, and this turns it into soulless sand. but in the process does grant us a soul. And as you can see, it also uses up durability on our soul extractor up to 128, meaning that we're probably only going to be able to get 128 out of this, well, until we have that beautiful means down the road with the Eternal Stella of actually making this unbreakable. But of course, you probably don't want to go through the manual task of draining the soul sand of its souls. So you probably want a way to automate this, don't you? And to do this, it's just going to require just a few dire things. And so we need a way to place in soul sand. So what we can do here is we can use a simple block placer. That seems pretty reasonable, right? So let's go ahead and place that in. And what we want this to do is just simply place in soul sand. That's pretty straightforward. Now we do want a block breaker, but we want the block breaker to break soulless sand. So whenever it turns into soulless sand, we should be able to put that in here. But you can see the simple one apparently does not have a filter. So it looks like we're gonna have to take this up a notch. And that means an advanced block breaker. Now the advanced block breaker should have a filter here, and we can set this to an allow list, and it's only going to be able to break soulless sand. And we can use a shovel. Doesn't really matter. The durability is going to have to be exchanged down the road anyways. So to test this, let's give it some power. By the way, the simple ones don't require any power, but this does. So let's go ahead, give a gate onto this. There we go. And whenever we drain this, there we go. That broke it, and then that placed it in, right? Super straightforward. Now for the real fun, the advanced clicker, which is going to do all of the work of actually automating the actual soul extractor. So yes, we are going to have to give this a little bit of juice. So there's some power. Now for the most part, we shouldn't have to configure anything. This should just be targeting the direct block that's right here, which is exactly what we want. Everything else is going to be basically defined as it is. However, we are going to have to change a few things here. So what we want it to do is actually hold right click for so long, right? Because that's what we're doing. Like we're holding it for so many ticks. And apparently, according to you guys in the Discord, 45 ticks is just about where we want this to be. Now, is it going to work immediately? Yes. It is honestly kind of ridiculous how good this actually is. And so we can turn this off right here, and notice I am now collecting souls. And so if I turn off my magnet and I set up a Just Dire Things collector, we can go ahead and actually start collecting these. It looks like they're piling up right here. So I'll just increase my range, and voila, we are now collecting not only our souls, but we're also getting our soulless sand back. So I think now with the majority of the hard part out of the way, for example, souls being kind of a big one here, we now have that filled up. We also have experience orbs ready to go. I think it's just time for us to actually start working on upgrading our Hephaestus Forge. To do this, we are going to need a gavel head, it looks like. And this I do remember. And this is kind of cool because these gavels actually have like uses down the road. But I think for right now, just going with a standard diamond one is going to be more than fine. So let's see. Are there any other new things that have been added? I guess these are just some of the things that we can actually make at the tier 1. Interesting. And then this would be what you make at tier 2. What I'm mainly after though is at least for right now getting to tier 3. So to do this, we need a minimum of what you see right here. It looks like in the Hephaestus Forge, we are going to need arcane crystals surrounding this. It looks like some spawner scrap, which you do get from breaking regular spawners, and then Edelwood planks. I can't stop calling it Edelwood. It's Edelwood. What is wrong with me? Oh, and by the way, one of the best places to farm these spawners and also spawn the spawner scrap has got to be these structures here in the Bumble Zone. The end structure, actually, I can tell you exactly what structure this is. This is called a Might Fortress. So I think now we're just about ready to upgrade our forge to the next tier. So I'm going to place down all of my pedestals again, and I think it was 4 of these, and then 4 of the scrap, like so, and then the fun actually happens here. Whenever we place this in, oh, the animation, I love this animation so much. And then I think we just right-click. Yeah, we just right-click on here, and then we get an entirely cool like animation that happens in the background, like doing some arcane magic. Oh, you've got to love this. Can take a little bit of time, but it's going to be super worth it because this is going to upgrade our actual forge. Oh, I'm loving this. I love the animations, and man, I really wish there was more stuff like this in other mods. But there we go. Perfect. Lightning striked. And now we're on an upgraded forge. Notice, by the way, the capacities have changed. There are now significantly more space to be able to hold things. Oh boy, like this used to be 10, now can store all the way up to 50. Now, something I do want to point out, if you are struggling to generate enough of the Ariel here, you can tick accelerate the crystals, and it does look like if you do that to the crystals, you will see that this doesn't exactly go up super fast, but you will get more of the Ariel every time it does. It looks like an operation for that. I'm still not sure if it's actually this that is doing that, like that's actually doing the increase, or if it is the other things that are being upgraded doing it, or maybe the combination of both. But you can definitely see that something is making it go higher. So now, after a little bit of grinding some more mobs, because you do need like 9,000 of the blood in here, we're already ready to go for the next tier. And this is going to take us up to the tier 3, which is the one that I absolutely want, because this is what gives us the ability to make Stellas. So we have ourselves the chiseled. Let's go ahead and put that in. Boop, and upgrade yet again. Ah, yes. And the animations are going to be basically the same. But man, like I said, I love this animation. And there we go. Forge done. So now with the newfound upgraded forge, we can actually start making the Eternal Stellas. But to be able to get Eternal Stellas, we do need Stellarite pieces. And this is where we're going to whip out the big guns, right? So this is how we're going to farm these, or I'm hoping this is how we can farm these, is through the use of a digital miner. So digital miner may seem kind of scary, but it's honestly one of the easier things to make in Mechanism and does allow us to specifically define what we want to mine. So for example, if I put this directly in my base, which may seem a little bit scary, we can go into the interface here and we should be able to define specific areas. So inside of the config, even without giving it power, we can still have it scan and everything and tell us what we want it to mine. Now, what we're looking for is the Stella. Now, this stuff is not the easiest thing to find, but when you do find it, you will most likely blow up and will jump scare you for sure. But we almost likely should be able to set a filter for this. So we go under here, we can do tags or item stack. I'm almost positive though, if we do item stack and we try to drag this in, I'm almost positive it does not work that way. There we go. We can actually set it via that way. Okay, perfect. So it's looking for this ore specifically. You can do the item stack, drag it into the left-hand side. Now, this is between -44 and 42. So our minimum Y level would be -44 and our maximum Y level would be 42. Perfect. Once that's defined, we can set our radius. I don't know how much further, so let us set it to 64. Looks like 32 is the max. So now that that is defined, we can hit start, I think, right? And it should do a scan. Now, currently it's showing 0 on the scan, even with power, but I'm going to try something different. I'm going to try and tag it with the C ores Stellarite. You can see at the very bottom of the list there, and try that instead. So if I go out here, place this bad boy down, I'm going to go ahead and remove some of the filters that are already existent here. So I can go ahead and delete that and delete this. Let's add a tag filter, and I'm going to use the C ores Stellarite, and we're going to check that, hit save, and this may still not work. Oh, nope, it definitely started to work. And notice it says now 9. So yes, the digital miner will work on this. You just have to make sure to define it properly. And so we can now move this about, and you can also silk touch this stuff, by the way. I don't know if silk touching actually helps too much, but let's go ahead and move this around, like way over here, for example. Just so long as we're within that area, we can rescan and hopefully find more. So like right over here, place it down, slap on some power. All of our configs stay in here. I'm also going to go ahead and add some energy and speed upgrades, and we should be good. I hit start. It's going to rescan, and there it goes. That's so much so quickly. So now to be able to make an item unbreakable, we just simply need to add these items in, place this in the middle, and then hit it with the hammer. And actually, this doesn't use too much. It's only going to use 1 soul, very little of the Ariel, very little of the blood, and very little of the XP to do just the standard craft here. Oh man, and we are going to need several of these. I do eventually actually want to make the bee, but that is going to require upgrading the forge even more. And the forge is the thing that costs a ton to actually upgrade. Now this is like touching the surface of the things that Forbidden adds, right? Because we do have other things we're going to need, like the quantum injector. Some of these other tools right here, other bits, they allow you to modify your tool, being able to get more things out of your tools, or more effects out of your tools, essentially. Like, for example, auto smelting, right? So whenever you break a block, it gets smelted and things like that. So just some pretty cool things you can do. But the first thing I want to use our Eternal Stella on, oh boy, you know, the Soul Extractor, because I want to make this thing unbreakable. This is going to require a regular smithing template to make the upgraded smithing template. And I think, do I have this in me? Yeah, I have the stick right here, and I can go ahead and use our smithing table to do all of this. We place this in, and voila, we now will have a internal Soul Extractor just like that. And that is how you can make unbreakable tools. You know what? With this, my friends, we have truly set up now the ability to make anything we want, or just about anything we want, absolutely unbreakable. This comes with some caveats, but eventually I will be able to fully automate those Stellas as soon as we get that bee. It's going to take a little bit of time to farm up, but honestly, it's not too far in the future away. So if you did enjoy today's episode, if you learned something new, if I made Forbidden and Arcanus a little bit easier for you, please let me know down in the comments below, and also give this video a huge thumbs up, and don't forget to click that subscribe button. Guys, with that being said, it's now time to thank the amazing supporter of today's episode. And that beautiful things is going to go out to Hyperwolf. Thank you so much for your amazing support and choosing to support me over on the Discord by becoming a Discord premium member and supporting me in one of the best ways possible. And thank you so much for absolutely going above and beyond and supporting the content that I make. Thank you so very much. And guys, if you did enjoy today's episode, join the Discord. We have a huge community over there, and I would love for you to hang out. And I stream in there just about every day I do my recordings. So definitely be sure to check that out. And I look forward to seeing you over there. And with that being said, I look forward to seeing you in the next one. So as always, thanks for watching.